If you are just joining us, President Trump made history today, becoming the first U.S. president to be impeached twice. The House charged him with incitement of insurrection following the deadly riots at the U.S. Capitol that happened exactly a week ago today. 10 Republicans voted to impeach him. Fox 5 political analyst Carl Luna joins us now to talk more about it. Carl, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And let's jump right in. That was the biggest difference from the first impeachment. Today was more bipartisan. Does that matter as it heads to the Senate? And what do you think the probability is that Donald Trump is convicted there?
I think it does matter that you're seeing that Donald Trump's total control over the Republican House delegation has frayed. And you had the number 3 leader, Liz Cheney, for the Republicans, break with the president. And Kevin McCarthy, the minority leader, said he thought the president was responsible for what happened last Wednesday, but he didn't go as far as impeachment. Now, this goes to the Senate, which still has to figure out how they're going to go through the process. Mitch McConnell might start it, but then it will continue probably under Chuck Schumer as the majority leader. On the first impeachment, no Republicans, except a couple of Republicans, looked to break ranks. Only Mitt Romney went over. There's a possibility you could get maybe 17 Republicans to join 50 Democrats to convict the president. There's a big faction growing in the Republican Party that wants to move to a post-Trump era. And apparently Mitch McConnell has made it known that he thinks impeachment should move forward. And he might actually see this as a chance to say, thank you, Donald Trump. Now it's time for you to go into retirement. That's still an outside bet.
Well, you mentioned Liz Cheney. She's one of the Republicans who called this a vote of conscience. Others did as well. So what is the potential political price for some of those GOP members who voted to impeach? And do the Democrats pay any kind of political price as they try to push forward maybe a Biden administration agenda?
What you're going to see with this, Kathleen, is a hunk of the Republicans in the House and the Senate who really support President Trump will dig in their heels at anything of a Biden agenda. And they will now run on this going toward the 2022 midterm, that the Democrats are vindictive, that they're dividing the country and trying to make them into the party of division, trying to put last Wednesday behind them. I would not be surprised if several of the members of the House who voted against the president on the Republican side lose their reelection bids if the president still has a platform to reach his own voters over the next couple of years. But in the short term, this is historic. The Trump legacy has taken a hit. Donald Trump's on the defensive, and it may be difficult for him to be able to ever restore the momentum he had once he loses the bully pulpit of the White House.
And there's the Trump organization and brand as well that seems to be taking some hits also. The president, we know, is not going to be removed by Inauguration Day. So for those who are making that argument, why do this when there is such a short time frame moving forward? Can you talk about what the value of performing this impeachment today was?
Well, for those who believe the president transgressed, that he violated his oath of office, that he violated the constitutional order, this is about history, the future, and precedent. You want to establish that a president is not above the law. They can be held accountable and they can pay a price. It's not just a symbolic price of being impeached and then possibly convicted. If the president is convicted and he's convicted after he's left office, the Senate can take a second vote to bar him from running in political office, which means 2024 is off the table. There are probably not a few Republicans who would like to see that happen so they could run in 2024. About 30–40% of the Republican Party, though, is really devoted to Trump. They see this as another mark of Democrats overreaching. It may make unity a little bit harder to get to over time. But then again, we're so disunited. This is just one more step in that direction.
Yeah, January 6th just showed how fractured we are in this moment. Carl Luna, thank you so much for staying with us in this late hour. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you.